Hello everyone, I'm Exodus, transmedia astronomer from Hong Kong, and I'm also an astronomy educator and National Astronomy Education Coordinator from International Astronomical Union. It's my honor to share some experience about astronomy educations and science communications, and it's my honor to share some advice, provide some advice and some approaches that might be applicable in the future in astronomers for planet Earth. So today my sharing topics will be related to the STEM+A Astronomy. So how can we integrate astronomy educations in our interactive classrooms and social innovative projects? So to begin with some examples, for example, the climate change, which is actually a big problem that we are always facing with. Consider it with different disciplines and sectors, not only environmental issues, but also some considerations from economical developments, sustainability, some social issues, and international regions cooperation. So it turns out to a problem and a question that what is the role of astronomy in the climate change action? So what can we do as an astronomers or astronomy educator or science communicator? What can we do in order to uh, raise people awareness and also take some actions in solving some real life issues? So the first suggestion that we can do, especially providing to the A4E that we could do, is actually redefining astronomy. So there's a term called the Astropreneur. So it's actually considered as a term of social innovator. So trying out not only investigating in some theoretical physics, theoretical astrophysics or cosmology, but we're trying to consider some cross-disciplines solutions or approaches. For example, we try to collaborate with some experts from other disciplines in order to co-create some new solutions or some feasible plans for solving or to uh, to slow down the global warming issues. So astronomy is actually an interdisciplinary natural science that we could have chances to collaborate with different experts from other disciplines. So another one would be system thinking approaches. So it's really important to understand the cause and effect relationship. So it's actually about understanding the underlying relationship between one problem and another problem. So we try to understand if we try to take some actions, whether there will be some positive effects, what we call the reinforcement, and slowing down for some issues, or we will have some feedback in order to make it better. And it might form a positive loop, which means that we could provide a better future to make some to imply some feasible solutions or actions in our daily life. Another one will be reframing the mindset. So design thinking model is actually one of the most desirable or useful models that we could make reference from. So for example, we consider the empathy. We have some social observation to see whether there are some pressing needs that we could take action. So it had to be really specific issues that we could really can able to take action. So we have to consider whether we can do it or it's just some desired goals or a long-term planning. So we really have to define an issues, and ideation is actually thinking of some ideas, brainstorming. So it is a holistic thinking process to think of different ideas without any judgment or criticism. So we think of different ideas and we try to prototype some flexible ideas, and we try to make some testing, and we make some improvement based on our design thinking process. So it's really important to define problems. So usually I'm sure that many of you might be familiar with the Sustainable Development Goals. There are 17 references that we could make reference from, and we could consider to make some focus in some particular goals that we could try out. For example, the climate actions. For example, the partnership for the goals. We always need some case studies or cooperations, which is cross countries or cross regions. So quality education to make some changes by starting by some our future generations to motivate them to make some changes in their lifestyles and their daily habits. So I will share a case study about the one issues that are really closely related to astronomy, which is actually the urban light pollutions. So there's a term called the artificial light at night. So including some different light pollution issues. And as you can see in the picture, the map is actually a really bright spot. It's actually Hong Kong. So we do have a project called the STEM+A Astronomy. We aims to promote popular science and dark sky awareness to raise people to, especially for our younger generation, to learn how to engage in some efficacies or engage in some science communication to raise people awareness in urban light pollutions through some experiential learning process. There are some light pollution field trip to allow some students need social innovation projects in order to know more about the dark sky approaches to solve some real life issues. Another one will be social observations to really consider or think of the issues that the people, our target audience, might be facing with. So we really have to be really empathetic, really able to understand or really experience the actual life of the people affected by the poor design, outdoor lighting, or some urban light pollutions. So building some prototype for with some learner-centered practice. So we think of the user-centered design to be able to understand whether it is useful for making changes to reduce light pollution rather than a beautiful design, however, is only considered in some beauty of design but not really useful for solving the real life issues. So there's a light pollution kit set, which is to allow students to build some prototype for some dark sky friendly outdoor lighting shields by using some environmental friendly materials. So teaching astronomy by building box is actually a really good a tool, educational tool that we could make use of, because it might be helpful for us to really build anything. If you have some basic materials elements, there are some flexibilities allowing you to build anything. For example, to build prototypes, you could be able to customize with different design in different shapes or color combinations. It might not really need a lot of scientific backgrounds or technology requirements in order to make a 3D modeling. However, you could really engage in building blocks and make adjustments in simple way. So it could be helpful to visualize complicated structures of some space technologies, especially if you try to launch some science communication campaigns, or you really wish to demonstrate some display to let the people to know more about some complicated structure, for example, the constellations, some astronomical technologies, or some 3D models. So you could make use of building blocks as a medium to to demonstrate some 3D structure, to allow people to see, to understand some abstract concepts about astronomy or our planet Earth, to demonstrate some ratios, comparison of different things about nature, and allowing people to know really as a case for visualizations. So you could also demonstrate some procedures and precautions of setting up telescopes. So many times when we try out some sidewalk astronomy or some trainings or some trainings for astronomy observations, it's really useful to allow your audience to make their own telescopes by using blocks. It's really helpful for them to really engage in the learning process. And through stargazing events or light pollution field trip could allow people to really experience how serious the light pollution in their sky field affecting some people's life, affecting the nature, affecting the nightlife animals, affecting the living qualities and health, public health, the energy waste. So astronomy could be related to a lot of different issues that related to the environmental friendly, related to the environmental aspect issues that we could consider. And thank you everyone. This is my sharing about how to integrate astronomy educations into some interactive classrooms. And I think there are a lot of different approaches and issues that we could consider. And I think light pollution is one of the most aware issues that we might be able to see, problems that we might be able to see in the night sky when we are having some sidewalk astronomy or stargazing events, or observing the night sky, studying the constellations, or having some astrophotography experience. And I think it's really helpful for us to know more about the pleasures of night sky, one people night sky, one people one sky. And I think you would I think you will have more understanding about my sharing. And thank you everyone. And if you have any questions, please feel free to email me or to come to my website for more information. And I'm Exodus, and thank you everyone.